Bum, 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 bum. The mighty, mighty voice has returned to the world of Wenz.
Have no fear, the most powerful voice in all thy land and all thy loins is here.
Woo! Get ready. Gosh, it's been way too long, bro. I missed you dearly. I have missed you.
It has been a hot minute, hasn't it?
Please gird thy loins and ready thyselves for the one, the only, the voice of Atlanta traffic, handling the streets for over 3 decades, 30 years, for those of you not too swell with math, the one and only Chris Monroe.
Hello, Joseph Wenzler. It is a pleasure to be back on Wenz World here in a whole new realm, a whole new studio of greatness.
The healing waters of Wenz World abide here. We have the voice of Atlanta traffic back from the old world into the new world here of Wenz to discuss the out of control traffic watch 2.0.
Man, it's just weird. It's like everything else. If we're going to start with traffic, I mean, that's, because obviously traffic dissolved and wasn't there during COVID. And it's just, so many people have stayed home and are working from home now, but there's more traffic. I mean, 7 days a week. It was bad when you and I were talking. How long ago? When was the last iteration of Wenz World? Was it
4 years ago this August?
Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it was getting bad then. I think it's worse now on an ongoing 7 day a week basis. Unbelievable.
What do you attribute that to? Is it just more people, we full, move back to where you came from?
Hashtag we full. I mean, it's hard to know. I think it's the increase in population. I think people's lives have just changed dramatically since the whole COVID thing. I mean, the whole world, they just basically took a snow globe and did this, and then all the pieces just settled down and they're finally kind of getting to the bottom. I think it's a lot of different factors. But there's definitely, I really never thought that things were going to, get back to where they were, and they've gotten there and more. But it's weird because it doesn't start as early in the morning as it used to, and it's gotten out of control. And here's the other thing, out of control, we have added a number of land of the never ending crashes.
Wait, for those of you not familiar with what that actually means, you're referring to the DTC, the Downtown Connector, yes. Correct?
The Downtown Connector was the original land of the never-ending crash, and it will always have its status. Now, it took a break for COVID, took a while to get back. We're there now, and we've got a couple of others as well.
I have a question, and this is coming from partial sincerity and partial snarkiness. You've seen maybe once or twice or thrice those that wear masks inside their car. Is it possible that the mask is hindering their ability to see? Sometimes you have the AC cranking, it moves up your face. We all had to wear them for a season, and then you have to keep pulling it down. A mask malfunction, if you will.
I think it goes deeper than that. I think it's just the total brainwashing. I think they found who they could completely brainwash. There are still people to this day that I see driving around in their car with a mask on, and I mean, that is just total control. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's
okay.
Huge.
All right. I mean, but look, here's the deal. Like Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, they have to do it. I don't know if it's still company protocol, but it's just so uncomfortable. Why would you do it otherwise? And are you worried about infecting yourself? Does the outside air, doesn't your cabin air filter do anything? I don't know. I want to talk
all
to these
theater. There's so much in life, man, that's, as we've talked about many times, it's just theater. The whole mask thing was theater to begin with, unless we all had professional N95 or gas masks or welding helmets or something like that. But even then, I mean, look, I've been sick the last 2 weeks. I didn't get tested. It was probably COVID. I lost taste and smell for a 3 days. Felt like crap, but it's like any other flu I've ever had. I had a cough, I had body aches, I had a fever, and I felt like crap. And I laid in bed and drank water and got better. It wasn't the end of the world.
Yeah, so that's the out of control traffic watch. Construction ongoing everywhere in Atlanta, as it seems. What's the deal there? Any new issues already preemptively on the south side? That always seems to be the trouble spot around town.
Well, they talked about, they've been talking for years about building truck-only lanes down there on 75 between Macon and McDonough. That would be good. That is probably one of the worst long range expressway stretches in America. It's like 30, 40, 50 miles sometimes of cumulative, 5-mile-an-hour traffic through there. Yep. You can't move down there. That side of town is awful. Of course, 400, 285 is taking forever. And, I think hopefully it will improve things once it's done there on the top end perimeter. But outside of that, they're talking about doing express. The next thing on 400 is full-time both-way express lanes along the locals, which would be fantastic. How long is that going to take? And then they want to do express lanes on 285 across the top. All this is great, but man, I may be dead and gone by the time that stuff is finished.
Yeah, I thought 285 was just kind of a means to an end. So to build express on the means would make it doubly mean, and I don't need any more negativity in my life. Chris, as you know, we opened up the lines here, the answer lines for questions for you.
We did.
Actually, Jolie asked, what was the original intent for 285? Because after all, it's just a giant circle.
Yeah, well, the originally plans for it in the late 50s and early 60s after the Eisenhower Interstate Plan, and the original plans were drawn up for Atlanta. And it's still marked this way on the signs as per the original plans, is the Atlanta bypass. It was meant to be a way around the congested city of Atlanta because people didn't live outside the perimeter. Most, or it wasn't very far, and the population, as soon as you got outside of 285, the population thinned out considerably. So it was always meant to be a truck route to keep tractor trailers out of downtown that were through trucks, and meant to be a bypass. Unfortunately, as Atlanta grew and evolved through the 70s and 80s and 90s and all the sprawl happened, it just became a east-west, north-south expressway, and it's so overloaded right now. We were supposed to have the outer perimeter. That was promised back in the 90s and 2000s, and of course that never took shape. The one that was outside, you got the original perimeter, and then you were supposed to have the outer perimeter.
So it was outside the inside perimeter.
Correct. It was going to go through like Canton and Cumming and Buford, and then all the way around. They called it the Northern Arc at the beginning. It was going to be the first section to be built, and it never did. The problem is that between the environmentalists and all of the regulations and restrictions, and not in my backyard and all of that, it just the cost of getting it done and the would have never happened. But the problem is that unless you outlaw cars, you're not going to take Atlantans out of their cars.
Oh, good idea. I like it. Let's go ahead and yeah. Let's go. Hey, Brandon. Yeah, if you don't mind. So we have an intern named Brandon. I'm just telling him, go ahead and shoot that up the ladder. All right. So we did have some questions. We have more questions. I teased out on the social medias, Chris. I don't know if you're still familiar with that. You've kind of gone off the grid. Good for you. You've maintained your peace. New year, new you, right?
New year, new me. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. That's something I say when I don't know what else to say, by the way. Ooh, I like that. Beatrix. I cannot believe that. That's actually somebody's name. Is that real? Yeah. Bartr. Okay. All right. That's how they chimed in. Wow. This got deep. She wants to know about the Voice of Atlanta traffic. What is your greatest strength and your greatest weakness?
My greatest strength is that I care and love too much. My greatest weakness is I care and love too much.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
You up for a couple more? They probably won't. All right. Sweet.
No, I am an open book here at the Casa de Voice.
All right. Easton wants to know if you could switch professions with someone, who would it be and why?
Wow. It's always funny. These are the type of questions that I get that are really deep and involved like this, that tonight about 2 a.m. I'll wake up and I'm like, man, that was a good answer. I figured it out.
No, call me. We'll do it all over again. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Man. I mean, there's so many people switch professions with, like if I could just have their life and,
not necessarily their personal life, but what you see from the outside, just like people see from you per se.
man, I've just been so blessed with I've just always loved to do what I do. I've always loved radio. I've always loved music. That's been a big part of my life. And I've been involved in those things pretty much my entire adult life. I'm not one of those people that's like, thank God it's Friday, oh God, it's Monday. And in between, I don't know that there was anything else that I would rather be than what I do.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
We had another one come in anonymously. What was Chris Monroe's first job?
My first legitimate, write you a paycheck job. My very first job was cutting lawns, like most, 10-year-old boys, 12-year-old boys in the neighborhood. But when I was 13, I got to sell the Marietta Daily Journal subscription door to door for $1 per sale.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they picked us up in a kind of a creepy looking Chevy van, a white nondescript Chevy van.
Hey, that's all right with me.
That's all right with me.
So what was the take on that project? Because you remember that game Paperboy, right? You had to throw at the houses that didn't look intimidating.
No, I remember the first time my paycheck was over $100. I remember now. It was you got $1 a day to show up.
You're talking about radio, right? Or are you talking about your paper route?
No,
okay.
It hasn't changed a whole lot. It hasn't gone up very much. But yeah, then we would go and sell. We would go sell Marietta Daily Journal subscriptions. And one time, and I still have a copy. It's a coveted of the Marietta Daily Journal Big Chicken Beach Towel giveaway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a collector's item now.
Have you used it yet?
I did, but I put it away to, maintain its integrity.
Does it still have some of the sand and stuff on it? Maybe some sunscreen?
It does.
Nice. Nice. SPF 50. We don't burn here at Wenz World.
No. High SPF, folks.
All right. So here's another one. This one, Lisa wants to know, who would it be and why if Chris was given a chance to have dinner with any living person? That was a very Yoda way to ask that question. So if you could have dinner with anybody, who would you have it with and why?
At this point, I'd probably say Donald Trump.
So you want to yell at him and throw things, right? Maybe throw a shoe like W, like.
I didn't have anything to do with them towers. No.
Architects and engineers for 9/11. Look it up. Sorry, we just had some interference.
No, Trump is just he is such an interesting character. I liked a lot of what he stood for, the things that he's been able to build, and yeah, did he make me cringe sometimes? Absolutely. I think he did a lot of people that were in his camp. But man, just given everything that's going on and what he was able to find from the inside and some knowledge, I would love to just pick his brain, because I think he would be one of the most honest people to kind of tell me the inside workings of #swamp.
It is interesting because if you listen to the people that know him and have known him for a long time, I don't think I've heard a single account of this narrative that we've been just bombarded by, that he's just a terrible human being who just has hate living in his heart and just as vile. And granted, we've all said and done things that are just awful, right? We're people, we make mistakes, but even as somebody who's fairly impartial to politics, I don't really see him as a threat that people do. And I know we have some ongoing talks now about that Freedom Fest in January from not too long ago that took place, and some things went awry and some people made bad choices and it went to a place it probably shouldn't have. But it starts to make me wonder about okay, how accountable are we going to hold people to their speeches behind a podium? Because every president gets up there and says things to rile up their base. We hear it now.
Yeah, of course. And look, in all the things that I've heard, there was nowhere that he called for a riot or a breach of the Capitol. Look, the people that caused any violence, I think 99% of decent Americans on any side of the aisle can agree that that was wrong.
Yeah, it was a bad choice.
And that wasn't a good look. I mean, that wasn't a good day. But there was a lot that went on that we haven't seen. There was an awful lot of actors there that I think fanned the flames. I was talking about it with a friend earlier. Everything today is centered around a narrative. It is all, how can I frame whatever situation it is to make my side look good? And that's conservatives too. I'm more of a libertarian and more of I don't trust any of them. But you said, talking about Trump being a threat, the biggest threat he was to the establishment. I mean, the corruption in Washington, you start to lift up that rug and you got all those roly-polies under there. And, they didn't want that.
No, it's true. It's true. And I don't know if you just heard this, but apparently Pelosi's husband has been absolved of all charges.
Oh, has he? I didn't hear that.
Of his DUI. Yeah. But look, it would have happened on the other side if the speaker was on the GOP, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Everybody's looking, right. They're looking for red meat on either side. Now, sure. I don't know Pelosi. I mean, there's some dumb things that come out of her mouth, but there's dumb things that come out of people with an R beside their name too. So I'm very much not a sheep. So whenever you tell me I have to do this or I have to do this, wear a mask, I'm more inclined to not do it,
right?
Because I'm just such an individual, and we are so far from that today, thanks to social media, thanks to communications and technology, and it's just, it's a very strange place we find ourselves in, for sure.
We got time for one more here, and then I kind of want to get into some other topics. How would you, Chris Monroe, describe yourself in 5 words? And this came from Misty. Misty from Kennesaw wants to know, how would Chris Monroe describe himself in 5 words?
It depends on how I identify today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not trying to listen. Listen, what's right for you is right for you. I'm not here to judge, teach their own. His, her, its own. I don't care. 5 words. How would you describe yourself?
Well, the original would be, if it had to do with radio, it would be powerful voice of Atlanta traffic. Those are the 5 words.
Wait, is your name Brandon Holiday?
No, it's Let's Go Brandon.
Oh, my bad.
I am writing the memoirs of the radio station, ladies and gentlemen. At some point, we've already kind of we're working on that book deal right now. No, I'm very much an empath. I feel very, I feel other people's pain, and it's hard not to take that on as my own. So empathetic, kind, giving, romantic.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
All right. And gregarious.
Oh, can you define that? Because I'm not smart enough to know what that word means.
Bubbly.
Oh, so should I just call guys named Greg bubbly from now on?
Hey, I don't think that's what we're talking about here.
Oh, Joseph. My bad, APD. My bad. Gregarious. I like that. Okay. So you mentioned dating. All right. And listen, I teased it. I put one of those pound signs in front of a word or two on the socials, and I said, dating life. What's up with the voice of Atlanta traffic? What's going on there?
So I want you to think about an abandoned Wild West town, boarded up, tumbleweeds blowing through the streets, the dirt streets where the wagons used to roll, the horses, and the shootouts used to happen, the quick draws. Man, I let a good one get away in 2018. I had a very challenged brief relationship in late 2018 into 2019, about 5-6 months. And past that, we broke up actually July, it would be June 2019. So 4 years, right? Well, or is it 21, 2, 23? Yeah, no, 3 years. I'm
Feels
terrible
like 4 though.
Great with words, but terrible with math.
It's okay, man. Can't have it all. So what would you say to that person if you could be in a room with them? Like, how would it go?
The person that I let get away, it was my fault, and she kind of strung me along between me and another guy for a year, and that was a rough year, man. I on a personal, me, you remember when that happened, and here we are, and I still think about her pretty much every day. And, so that's been tough. And then just the prospects of just meeting people is so difficult today.
I can't imagine.
We've never been more connected, and we've never been more disconnected at the same time.
Isn't it ironic that this platform, the interwebs, that was supposed to bring us into this like tight-knit community, and ultimately what it has done is created more of a place to hide for each person. And maybe that wasn't the design. Maybe it's the unintended consequence. Maybe human beings will always find a way to F things up, and that's probably the way it is. But there is a lot of truth to that, Chris, because sometimes I feel like social media has given us a false sense of community and actually made us feel like we have more close friends than we actually have. Because to be honest, man, there are a good amount of people on my friends list on Facebook alone that if I saw them on the street, I wouldn't engage. I wouldn't run away turn my head and be like, oh, but I wouldn't like, oh man, hey dude, hey chick, what's up? I haven't talked to you in forever. Like, it's just not the way it is. Maybe is that friendship now? Do we consider friends just acquaintances? Have we kind of lost the meaning of friendship and love and everything altogether? Because everything's so damn subjective. Who knows? Yeah, and
and again, I say we in the pejorative, but because I haven't been on social media in years.
Good for you, man.
I made that decision 4 years ago. I haven't been on Facebook in a while. Got rid of all of it. The reality is people, paint this picture of their lives for the dopamine hit of likes and shares. That look at me, I'm, and everybody has a soapbox today, and yet no one communicates. The only communication is in the awful comment section in posts, of whatever. We're just at a point where I just missed phone calls. It's hard to get anybody under 40 to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
And I miss that. And just, I don't want to know about your daily life. I want to meet you for lunch as a friend, and let's catch up, and let's, you and I are very close. But we're also guys, and this is how guys are generally, is we can go a while, not really even communicate, then jump right back in where we were.
We pick it up.
And I kind of miss that. I really miss that connection. And it's always been true that we only have a handful of really true friends. I mean, whether, social media or old school, it doesn't really matter. Social media has just given us this illusion that we have this huge network of people, and we're our sphere of influence, and it's just nonsense. And I at some point, man, I think people are going to have to wake up, and I think people are waking up to that. Facebook has lost a lot of people and subscribers, and a lot of people have soured on it, because it's just so much. When it first started, it was really cool to connect with people I hadn't talked to or seen since high school. And man, I can't believe you moved to Phoenix, or blah, 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 you got married, whatever. And then, that was about 2006, 2007. And then as we got into the teens, man, it just went downhill. And now it's just a cesspool. It's just awful.
Twitter in particular to me is the giant cesspool, because I almost got sucked in today on some sports argument. The most ridiculous thing to argue over, because first of all, I have no creative or direct control or outside interference on these matchups and contests, but then argue about somebody's value as like their purpose on earth, because God gave some of us jump shots and he gave others of us a dynamic voice like you. And then, it's kind of disrespectful to all the powers that be to handle ourselves the way we are as a society, like talking to strangers with this level of bravado that we would never have the gall to display in person. Like, to me, it's just absurd. Like, I think there should be an address confirmation and your real ass name and your location is ping. Like, you, if you want to say it, that's cool. But why is it that some people are held to their word, even if it's on a platform? And, you know, it's everything they tweet or say or type is front page news. But then there are millions of us who have been given this false sense of entitlement and a voice to make it known about what we think about things we know nothing about.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we're at war with each other. And it's sickening to me, because ultimately, not to get, you know, too deep here in the waters of Wenz World, but man, I want to embrace the notion of unity. I really do. And I think that as a nation, that's what independence gives you. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, right? Like, why would we need interdependence if we ultimately, the goal is independence? But I don't think it was meant to be independent from each other. I think it was meant to be independent from a framework, a mental framework of bondage or subservience to a power that didn't deserve it ultimately.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It sucks that we're here again. It's like it's another witch hunt. It's a witch hunt on a much more technologically sound level. And it's just got to the point where, like you, Chris, if it weren't for work, I'd have been deleted Facebook a long time ago. And and I have it because I like to catch up with my cousins and stuff who live in states far away.
A lot of people say that they'll use Facebook for that purpose. Like, I want to make sure they've got a large extended family across the country or whatever. And that's fine. Or I only follow funny cat videos and memes and stuff that makes me happy.
Miss those.
That's fine. I really think, and you hit on a lot of points there. Where we're at didn't happen overnight. A lot of it is not by accident. There are people that want to change America. There are people that have never liked America, have never thought America was a good place. And they seek to, destroy. And I think there's a mindset now of some that they want to just completely burn this thing to the ground and start over. But as far as where we're at right now, it's a perfect storm of things that have come together. It's, the declining family. When I'll be 50 this year. I was born in October of 72. And, when I was growing up, my dad worked, my mom didn't. He made more money in 1982 than I do now. People were able to live on one income. We ate dinner together most every night, except when he was traveling. But we always had dinner together as a family, whether dad was there or not. A father was present in the home. There were accepted cultural norms and right and wrong and good and evil. And you talked about the intradependency. We used to have a set of core values as Americans that we agreed upon. Free speech, individual rights, the Bill of Rights, that now, and left and right was here. And we argued over, well, you're spending too much money on social welfare programs, or no, we want to be more fiscally conservative, Okay, that's fine. But we have gone just this beyond the realm of, it's almost like we're living on two different universes. And I'm telling you, man, my feeling is, and it may not happen in my lifetime, I don't know. We're either going to be in a actual civil war. We're already in a civil war. In an actual civil war with violence, or America is not going to cease to exist as 50 United States. I don't know that it can in its current form. Do you?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question.
I know it's depressing and loaded, but it's like,
we're here. Let's do it, man. For me, I kind of see it playing out ultimately the way I think the founders saw it playing out. And what I mean by that is, like, if you want to live in a place, a territory, we could call it a state if you want, because I don't know if they'll be called that in 20 years, but a place, we'll call it a state, right? So if you want to live in a state where XYZ is illegal, where abortion is illegal, and this is illegal, and this is legal, and it whatever fits the way you want to live your life, right? So you move to that state, and that's the place where you live until that state no longer reflects the life that you want to live around or be around and raise your kids in. Family, we talked about that. And I think that's what it needs to be about, man. Let Nevada be Vegas. Vegas, baby. Let it be crazy.
Well,
let California be the whack job place that it is. And cool, if you want to live there, great. But listen, I'm not in charge of your ideas. I'm not in charge. I'm not responsible for your ideas.
But I think you're going to ultimately see people say, where I live, I moved out of my home county, which became just untenable to me in many ways, to another county which shares my values, and I'm a much happier person because I'm surrounded by people. And it's not, and a lot of people say, well, you live in an echo chamber. No, it's not that. I listen and really try to feel other people's values. Like, I believe abortion is wrong. I believe it's taking a life, but at the same time, I can see the argument for keeping, you know what I'm saying? I'm a
Sure.
true Libra. I'm a balance, scales.
Here we go. No, sorry. Fortune cookies and all that. We'll get to that on a future episode. Go ahead.
Year of the rat. Yeah, I was born in the year of the rat. So.
Rizzo.
And it's just, I see different things, but we don't talk anymore. We don't discuss, we don't debate. Instead, we threaten to burn things down, and we physically do burn things down. We hurt people, and we we could get into the whole gun violence and blah blah and all of that and the difference. And look, I understand. I'm more of a constitutionalist in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, but I can see where people are coming from. But explain to me, and I heard this today, and I remember my mom saying back in the 60s that boys she went to school with were allowed to bring their hunting rifles into the school and put them in their locker because they had like a shooting class or a gun safety class and that kind of thing. So there were plenty of guns in the 60s. Tell me why there weren't so many shootings.
Because the kids weren't pumped full of SSRIs, and we don't have all sorts of crap in our water and food. Yep. God knows. Chris, I was thinking about this, and look, what you said, right? We can disagree on this when we're here, and that's great. Like, we should disagree on some things. We should live in a country where we have thoughtful debates on, as Prager would call them, ultimate issues. For this country.
And that's the only way you grow is, I always say, if you have a compelling argument that changes my mind, then good on you.
Great. Great. And that's great. Yeah.
I'm not unmovable. Now there are some on both sides that have become so polarized. And I had a friend of mine say this today. It was like, if a Republican wants to compromise at all across the aisle now, well, you're a rhino and you've always been a rhino.
Sure.
And it's easy to get into that echo chamber, but at the same time, is that constructive? No, it's not.
No, and you got to meet people where they are sometimes, and that's the nature of being a human being. But as far as going back to what we talked about, I don't know how you fix it. As far as the Civil War, man, I think we are at war with each other. It's a silent war. It's a war of disrespect. It starts where it is now. Right. And God knows, I would love for there to be this country where I raise my boys and they just look at people as part of creation and like, hey, how can I bless you today? Like, how can I show love, the love that's flowing from my heart to you? Like my neighbor, my classmate, we don't have that.
We had gotten there.
Because
I was raised, like I said, I was born in 72, coming up through the 80s. And into the 90s, we were taught, on the Martin Luther King premise of, judge people by their character and, contra their character. But that's been stripped away now. That's considered to be racist. To be colorblind is to be racist. My parents raised me to treat people well and not judge people based upon, the color of their skin. Now, do certain ethnic groups across all sides stereotype themselves because of things they do. Yeah. And they become not stereotypes, but realities. That's not my fault, but I never look at one person and say, just because you're Asian, you are this, or I'm going to hate you because of this. I was never raised that way. And I didn't know anybody that I grew up with that was raised that way. But we've gone totally 180 all the way back.
Do you remember when we used to hear this phrase? It was actions speak louder than words.
Sure.
Actually, it was pounded into my brain and into my heart by my parents. And it's true, because what you do is ultimately more valuable than what you say. Talk is cheap. I can sit and tell you 1,000 things a minute. But now it seems it's the reciprocal is true. It's what you say that one time 15 years ago on Twitter cancels you. You're done. Forget it. And if you apologize, you're worse off than if you had owned it to begin with and just said, I'm not apologizing. It's how I felt. It may not be how I feel now, but even that doesn't matter, because even if I were to apologize, I'd be in a worse place than if I say nothing at all or just ignore it. It's terrible. It has taken this idea of, and it all stems from this idea of don't judge your neighbor, right? Which on its face is a beautiful truth, because ultimately, if we look at ourselves, that's enough to let people off the hook and say, you know what, I got my own issues. But then it turned into this whole, like, we can't look at each other and we can't have discussions about what's going on. We can't have honest conversations because that's judgment. We can't judge each other. Remember? Okay, yeah, you're right. Can't do that. And now we just can't have honest conversations with each other. And I just kind of feel like we're at a place where you can't even say, hey man, I'm sorry I said that. Like, I don't know. I was in a different place. I wasn't as mature. I hadn't had these life experiences. I hadn't met these people who met me at these odd intersections in my life that were really like providential in so many ways. And now I see things differently. But it's like, there's a side, like you said, there's an absolute side on this far end that says, I don't give a darn if you say you're sorry 1,000,000 times and you've given millions of dollars and spent thousands of hours. You said one terrible thing, to hell with you, literally. And it's terrible.
That's because we took religion out of everything. And I'm not an overtly religious person. I think religion is man's interpretation of spirituality and connection with God. But, we took that out. So now there is no forgiveness taught. There is no statute of limitations on, when they start confirming a Supreme Court justice and they go back to things he did when he was in college or high school, that's just stupid.
Nobody would have a professional job.
Nobody would. If there was cameras and Twitter and all of that shit around when we were coming up, nobody would have a job.
Let me bring it full circle. If I could log into my MySpace page, if people could see they'd be like, yo, that was like 15 years ago. You were doing crazy things. And it's not that, but like you said, we've always been doing the same things. We just didn't have the body cam footage to prove it.
Yeah. Look, there's always been evil in the world. There's always been narcissism in the world. There's always been, bad things that we had to navigate. But what technology and social media and all of that has done, it's just taken and just, put a nuclear bomb on it and just made it just 1,000,000 trillion times worse, where everybody has their soapbox and people just love that. A lot of people get off on that debate and that, that constant back and forth with people. Me, I don't. I'm a calm person. I don't like strife. I'm not a conflict type of person. So all of that doesn't even appeal to me, but I remember my parents, man, back in the day saying, don't talk about politics or religion in public, with people that you're not familiar with. And it's, if we would adhere to that today, and I watch a lot of YouTube and I went back and watched some of the election night coverage, starting with Nixon in '68, and then his blowout in '72, the year I was born. 1 month, I was 1 month old when that happened, and then kind of went all the way up through Carter and Reagan and Clinton and all that. It's just amazing how straightforward the coverage was. There was no, it was like, yeah, the Democrats are going to do this, the Republicans are going to do that. And then all of a sudden, at some point, we just became this nation where we just blew everything up. We just bombed on Nagasaki, man. It was just gone.
It's a sad reality, man. And do you think we've hit that tipping point yet? Do you think that there's a consciousness and awareness of, because even shows like The Social Dilemma on Netflix have brought it to the forefront. Like, this is what it's doing to your brain. It's not a secret. It's public information, but it's almost like, yeah, Surgeon General warning, shove it where the sun don't shine. I don't care. I'm fully aware of the dangers, take another drag, so to speak. Another refresh. And it's true. The adrenaline rush is something else, bro. And it's something that I think, it just highlights and exasperates the need for instant gratification for not even this generation, but the one before this generation, my generation.
Gratification and affirmation. Mm-hmm. So,
do you like me? Do you like my post? Please like my post, comment.
And, I'm trans. I'm a decimal point percentage of the population, but everybody on the face of the planet is going to agree with me and affirm that I'm good.
Yeah, I don't. Why does it matter? Why do you care?
And that's where we've gotten to, is people are tired of seeing this. You talked about a tipping point. I think everybody I talk to, don't you feel something is not right?
Bro, always. Every day I'm out in society.
So you're out there and you're like, they're talking about food shortages coming and, all of this stuff and who knows what's going to happen.
Pending doom, sure.
It's so fragile. One electronic pulse type of warhead or something like
EMP,
that.
It's over.
Yeah, dude. It takes down the whole electrical grid. Then what are we going to do? This country would lose it. We are so spoiled and so narcissistic and selfish today that I think hundreds of thousands of people would die. I really do.
Oh, yeah. Within 48 hours.
Yeah.
Because if you look at us, and I say us and look, I got a lot of room to grow, but as a country, I was thinking about this as we celebrated D-Day the other day. And I was thinking about what would happen if everything that was going down back then was happening right now. Like, would we be able to nut up and get on a steel barge?
Nope.
And hop into that ice cold ass water and put it all on the line for this country?
I went to the World War II Museum in New Orleans, and if you've never been, it was only a quarter done when I was there, but the quarter that was done was unbelievable. And that boat was there. You could get up and touch it, and these were 19-year-old kids, that knew that there was a good possibility they were going to die.
Yeah.
Today, if our Starbucks order is wrong, we have a viral moment that goes on.
They're persecuting my Christianity because they won't put my Christmas snowflake on a cup. It's absurd. And look, I'm just as spoiled as the mass population.
I'm not going to say that I'm above the fray.
But I'm also aware, because I feel you, man. I feel like this weird tension sometimes where I'm like, what if? And I don't want to live in what if world, because it's endless and it's stressful and it causes anxiety and we don't need to do that. But there are some good questions to ask ourselves. Like, what would happen if something went down? And granted, just geographically, we're very strategically placed, got the dumb luck to be born here. Amazing, right? But like yourself, man, I do think that, would we be brave enough to be like, I kind of wonder, like, would we have what it takes to be like the Ukrainian people, to fight for our cities, to our townships, our counties? Like, we're holding down the Quick Trip. Like, they're not taking it. This is our station,
I think there is certainly a large section of our population, that would. I think, but generally they skew to the libertarian conservative side. People that, grew up understanding firearms and preparing and that you have to fight sometimes for what is right. And on the left side of the aisle and in the political spectrum, it's got to this point of, I mean, pick your adjective, pansies. I mean, it's to the point of, what if people actually had to go slaughter an animal for what they were going to eat? I mean,
no, because even when I drive by dead animals on the side of the road, I'm like,
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I am a huge animal lover. And I go back to that empath I talked about in my 5 descriptors. It's like I eat meat and I love it, but then I think about it and it makes me sad, but I am very tenderhearted in that way. So I'm putting myself into the,
the animals are very tender too.
Yeah.
Especially between 2 pieces of bread.
Yes. You feel like the pendulum has just swung to a point now where we're trying to just rewrite everything. That, if you're just an average American, just want to mind your own business, you're patriotic, you love your country, you love our founding, you don't believe that America was an evil place, that you don't judge. Here's the thing. It's funny. It might have been Prager that said that if you judge historical figures by today's standards, there would be no good people in the past.
If you judge people by their thought life, none of us would have any relationships. Can you imagine? Like everything that you've ever thought about anybody, them knowing about, nobody would be married. There would be no intact family. It would be awful. And it would just be just a reflection of who we actually are. Like, that's the truth of it.
Which are broken people. And another Pragerism is that people are not inherently good. And I remember that a couple of years ago when I first heard him say that, and I was like, it really changed my mind. I'm like, you know what? We're really not. Yeah, we're born, and it doesn't necessarily mean we're born evil, but our mom has to teach us and our dad has to teach us values. And there has to be a directive of, where those values come from, how to treat people, how to share, don't be selfish, share with Timmy, don't knock your sister up behind the head, with a baseball bat, all these things that we're taught and our parents tell us, ad nauseum, hundreds, thousands of times in our life as part of child rearing. It means we're not born as perfect creatures, and these, we have to be taught that. And there's, in many households today, where are the kids getting their moral compass today?
I mean, it's got to be whatever streaming and whatever they're exposed to. It's tough. And I want to get into the depths of depravity here with the voice of Atlanta traffic.
Yeah.
But we are going to do that on the next edition, also featuring more interrogation from the general public about the inner workings, the ITP, if you will, of Chris Monroe. Inside that perimeter, they want to peel those layers away and get into your inner core.
Let me just say this, Joey. In the broadcast realm, we call what you just did a tease.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sound like somebody I used to know a long time ago. Maybe it'll come back to me in time.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
You have a cold or something in your throat there. Did you shave? You used to have a beard. Anyway, listen, we'll talk about that.
I did shave my beard.
And much more next time with the one and only voice of Atlanta traffic. Chris, how can the people find you, meet you, and give you a big old-fashioned Southern hug?
I'm not sure that I want to for anybody to give me a big old-fashioned Southern hug unless it's Misty with an I.
Oh, not Misty with a Y. So sorry, Misty with a Y, who asked your question.
I was gonna be, my question is was it with a Y or I? A Y is acceptable because it is a vowel.
Sometimes.
Yeah. You can listen to me. I'm on The Answer Atlanta, AM 920, 104.7 FM, HD3 on an HD radio and streaming at The Answer Atlanta. I do traffic and news. And you can drop me a line if you want to send me an email. It's pretty easy. It's chris@chrismonroe.info. chris@chrismonroe.info.
Beautiful. Chris, you are my brother from another mother. I treasure your friendship, bro. Thanks for bringing it always to the table.
Yeah, love these discussions, man. I've missed it, and I'm glad to be back.
Yes, let's do it again very soon.
Yes, sir.